So I'm keen on that audience behavior because it kind of is going to drive any argument to a client saying this is why you've got to do it. It's because the audience need it, right? Who wants to start on this? And what have we seen in terms of kind of changes in audience behavior? Oh, we've got a hand up. Okay, so Carolyn, go for it. What's changed for the audience? Because I think this is the heart of everything, right?
I think it's really interesting. One general point, I think, across the whole of business is that what this crisis has done is it's accelerated trends that were already there. So we all know that B2B marketers have been self-informing. Buyers have been self-informing, doing a lot of online research before they actually make a direct approach or encourage an approach from a particular vendor. And I think that's accelerated even more because people are home-based and they are doing much more online research before the event. And I guess that connects to another point, which is we do talk about events and we talk about marketing solutions separately, but I think from the buyer's point of view, it's all one thing. So I think one of the important things is making sure that you've got enough accessible on-demand content that helps that buyer, that audience member, to start to move along the journey to being ready to buy before you create an opportunity at a face-to-face or an online event when they might actually do the transaction and start to kind of like close the loop. So I think people are doing more online research, so that needs to be a part of your marketing. I guess the other thing is, particularly thinking about virtual events and online events at the moment, is that people are slightly overwhelmed with invites and opportunities, and I think they're being quite harsh about where they pay attention and where they do not. Because I guess last year, you make a decision to go to a physical event, you've committed the day, you might as well wander around, use up the day before you catch your train back. But if it's an online event, you might say, I'm only really interested in this, I'm going to dive in, listen to that talk, run away. And so every single element of content which is created by a sponsor or an exhibitor or whatever you want to call them, a client, has got to earn its place. It's got to be good enough to pull people in. You can't sort of say, well, look, we're going to put a really good speaker on the stage and then we'll sit the sponsor on afterwards because people can't be bothered to get up and walk out. When it's online, nobody cares. They will just click off. So everything's got to work harder.
I think one of the phrases I like this wasn't a colleague of mine, but someone I know who's within marketing solution sales, said that the audience have become more brutal and braver than ever before. And the brutalness is they can just walk away. But the brave bit is also some benefits there. It's like actually a lot of the audience would never be brave enough to go across an event floor and go up and start talking to actual clients. But actually they're braver doing that behind a keyboard because you can kind of hide behind a keyboard. So there's positives and negatives to it, depending on how you spin it. But they have absolutely changed because of the lean into digital. What's your take, guys?
So I'll jump in. So my sense, certainly from the research that I've done with the people that have run events so far, they've told me that they've had phenomenal responses from their respective sectors. So it's evident that the audience out there are really, they're desperate for information. They want to know what other people are thinking, what are their peer group thinking, sort of what's going on, how people responding to the crisis, keen to engage with people in their community. So if they do select your event, I think that point Karen's made really good. I think they're being selective about what they attend, but that you've got to stand out from the crowd. And if you want to do that, you've got to be compelling and relevant content, but you've also got to think about through the process of your event, how are you engaging them? Because you need to be trying to influence their behavior to encourage them to stay with your event and dip in and out and come back to the content. So they've got to have the tools, the live polling, those types of activities that encourage them to come back and also feel it's some kind of experience for them.
Yeah, I think on that, so I'll come to you in one moment, but on that, I think it's also worth for anyone out there who's kind of not from that pure play events background. I think, again, that content, yes, with events is often kind of dictated by the event organizer, but actually back to Sophie's point earlier, which said that what's really appealing to audience members is different ways, talks and presentations and kind of different messaging, and the newness bit is actually not just putting that responsibility on the event organizer, but taking that to the client and helping them create the messages that are going to cut through as well. Does that make sense? So I think there's kind of two angles. Yes, it's about the event organizer connecting the right kind of questions to the right answers, but there's also how do you actually bespoke that content with your client to make sure they cut through above anyone else to that audience. Di, what's your take on this?
Well, I think we've all beginning to suffer from death by webinar right now, and completely agree that different formats are great. This is a great format because you had a poll at the beginning to kind of draw everybody in. There's a good chat going on. People interacted far more easily, whereas I've been to other events where they've tried to have that that interaction going, and it just hasn't taken off. And I think also inviting somebody to a virtual chat room when you've never met them before is a bit creepy. And I think people are not yet at that stage. So, if you are doing virtual, just bear that in mind. If you are an exhibitor, just bear that in mind, because approaches out of the blue are going to feel a bit strange. So thinking about that, but also thinking about the audience is in a very different place, just as we all are. We're not sure what we should be researching because we don't know what the new world is going to look like. So, in the tech area, for example, you might have been looking at, I don't know, some amazing future-proofing tech, but now you're actually looking to just, keep the wheels turning on the business. Probably lots of video conferencing, for example. So, people have not only pivoted to virtual, they've pivoted their business model and where they see the future. So it's all about listening to the visitors, as the visitor audience, as well as the exhibitors. I think sales guys spend an awful lot of time talking to exhibitors but not really understanding who the audience is that they should know all about.